The Sunday Footy Show, massive show as you just saw. Ellen Richardson will be here in a moment. Nick Del Santo's here now, and the breaking news surrounding Brian Taylor's sanction from the Seven Network in the last 5 minutes. The whole crew's here. Bill Brownless along for the ride, the King of Geelong. Nathan Brown back from national duties. Damien Barrett, of course, the all-conquering quill-winning journalist. The five-time All-Australian Matthew Lloyd and Nicky Dell exclusively. Great to have you along after your first game against your beloved former Saints as we got through Tier 3. As we look at the results in the round 17 of football. West Coast last night in a close one. The Swans on the back of the Buddy Show. It rolls on another 6. It's unbelievable. West Coast put a major dent in the Gold Coast finals aspirations. The Kangaroos in a canter, Richo along soon. Geelong found some nick, and the Hawks back on Friday night against the Crows did it well. The ladder looks fascinating, particularly down the bottom. The Suns hanging on for dear life. They are on 36, but their percentage drops below 100. And Collingwood and Essendon is going to be a massive game this afternoon. Essendon in 10th spot. They will go in if they win, and the Swans a game clear on top. And West Coast, ironically, are still within the shooting match, and the Bulldogs, the big riser there after their win on the weekend. But the Swans are a game clear on top. Nathan Brown, Buddy Franklin, 6 goals again. It does pose the question, is he within reach of winning a Brownlow medal unthinkably in his first season at the Swans?
Well, I reckon he could be, and anybody had any doubt about Sydney up until now, you had to watch this third quarter last night, 10 goals, and the Blues blinked, and all of a sudden it was a 70-point margin. This man, Sam Reid, he was outstanding. He got him going in the first half, finished the game with 4 goals, went into the ruck a little bit, went down back also, was able to 5 in the third quarter, and he also kicked another goal in the last to finish with 10 goals between them, and it was just an awesome display from a very, very accomplished footy side.
Do they have a weakness? Some would say the rucks, and some would say if Ted Richards went down, have they got a replacement for him? What do you think about
It's
that?
their defensive end. I think they're solid in the ruck. I think Big Mike Pike's good enough to carry the load in there, but I think defensively, Ted Richards 31. If somebody is a little bit stronger than Ted Richards or gets away from him, then Grundy sometimes can be a bit vulnerable. But their half-back flankers in Rhys Shaw, who obviously didn't play last night, and also Mel Chesky, they're the two best in the comp at the moment. But I still think big forwards can get a hold of them.
Josh Kennedy, outstanding, Nicky Dell.
Yes, I think he's almost at the point where he's untaggable. Every week opposition teams will be going into these games knowing exactly what he's going to do, but he just keeps doing it. He had a world record, I like that word, world record, saying we're the only place that plays this game. 29 contested possessions, and to give you a comparison, I reckon a good inside midfielder on any game would get between 10 and 15. So he's doubling that, and he's doing it consistently week in, week out.
Just so strong.
You'd have to wonder how good he's going to go in the Brownlow this year again, Lloydie.
Well, here's the stats, Nicky Dell. Just in games this year, all of these wins. When you win 11 or 12 in a row, you get all the 3 votes. I know, Brownie, you think maybe being an inside player, he may not attract the umpires' votes, but there's some fair numbers with Ablett gone now. You'd have to say he might go in ahead of Pendlebury as the favourite.
He might, but you'd have to think, I think Kennedy needs 41s and 39s to get those 3 votes. He didn't vote very well last year, had a very similar stat range to that last year. Only got the 14 votes. He finished 16th. Buddy Franklin, he's been electric. He has been the one that everybody's watched. And again, 6 goals last night. It's out of him and Kennedy to get the 3 votes. You might just lean towards Buddy because 5 goals in a quarter when the game was in the balance at half-time really turned on its head.
They're game clear and look very hard to beat at the moment. Not a good night for Chris Judd. To his credit, he faced the music on the broadcast afterwards, which I liked, but just the 13 touches. Where does this leave him in the next year, Damien?
Well, everyone I speak to, Hutchie, about his future tells me that he won't be going around in 2015.
He won't.
But he won't be. I mean, that's not a massive surprise, Bill.
He's not making any noises like he's going to play.
No, there's nothing coming out of his mouth or those around him to suggest that he's a lock-in for next year. And look, on the back of that last night, that's left Carlton 5 and 11. They were blown away with a 10-goal third quarter by the Sydney Swans. They were okay in the first and second and the last quarters, but he's not going to stick around, though, Bill.
But he's nearly their best player.
Yeah.
And that shows how bad Carlton
But I believe Judd would look at where Carlton are going and think, why play on? Unless he was that desperate and really want to keep playing, what's the point? I think Juddy knows. I think Mick Bolthouse's comments, whether they're right or wrong about going with something left in the tank, I think Juddy's that type. He's got other interests outside of footy.
Well, you left with something in the tank. I mean, people thought you retired 1, maybe 2 years. I mean, just tell us the mindset of that moment as a footballer when the time comes.
I'm very big on that. You don't want to be really struggling in your last year or two, and that you want to in a way, be remembered for impacting games and not really struggling. But Judd hasn't been like that up until this point. But I think he'll walk away.
You should retire?
I think probably. Yeah, I think I'll probably retire.
Totally
It'd be better for Carlton though if he stayed on and played next year and helped the young guys coming through. Because
Jonathan Brown,
they've got an emerging midfield. I think Bryce Gibbs was terrific last night. Mark Murphy, Kate Sims, still good players. But the players coming through, Doherty, Dylan Buckley, all these guys, how much better would it be if they get run out with Chris Judd
he's not holding anyone out of the spot. But I don't think Mick Malthouse's comments would have encouraged him to play on.
No.
Speaking of having an impact, this bloke isn't, Daisy Thomas. Now, not sure, is he not fit enough? Is he not working hard enough? But just not like the Daisy that we all know, boys. Just no impact on the games. Not sure where his best position is with the Carlton Footy Club. And maybe he would like to have Chris Judd run around. I know he didn't have a pre-season, but just not doing enough, Daisy.
Bill, he's just got no presence out there.
Yesterday on radio, and Dean Laley defended him, said that he hadn't had a pre-season.
Yeah.
His knee injury or his injury was like coming back from a knee reconstruction. But on the other side of the card, Carlton supporter was saying, well, you're paying him $700,000.
Yep.
He's going to be there for a long time.
Lost
he needs
some
to learn
mojo.
what he's doing.
No mojo. You need the mojo, don't you, Nicky Dell?
You do, and I think, to his defence, as you said, he's also in a side that's not winning a lot of games, so it's difficult to have a big impact in the way that he plays, and I think he's a genuine winger, and I think he plays that role in 2010 as better than anyone did. Just needs to get it going again, but I wouldn't write him off just yet.
The other big story last night was the inappropriate comment from Seven's face of their broadcast, Brian Taylor, on last night's broadcast. Now, there's been action on this in the last 10 minutes from Channel 7.
Yeah, there has. Lewis Martin, the head of Channel 7, has released a statement only moments ago that reads, in part, comments such as those made last night are unacceptable and should not and will not be tolerated. Brian has been censured and will be supported through counselling and education to ensure this mistake will never happen again. That's Lewis Martin from Channel 7, just only moments ago putting out that statement. There were conversations with Lewis Martin and the AFL last night, Hutchie. Simon Lethland, the AFL executive, was the one who was on the phone straight away. I mean, Lewis Martin had already undertaken the process to get Brian to apologise at half-time, which he did, and it wasn't...
To Harry Taylor?
To Harry Taylor, for the comments made again in the way that he made them. And that's where it's at now. Now, Brian will be educated, as we saw, counselled. He won't be losing his job over it.
So he won't not career threatening at 7?
I don't believe so. The education process kicks in now. But look, there's the whole topic. Saying what he said, even in jest, as he said it, it is unacceptable. And the whole competition now needs to be very much aware that there is no time, no place for this language and these words under any circumstances.
You worked with Brian on radio, where he's had a similar apology weeks ago. What's your take on it? He obviously didn't mean what he said, but he would be regretting it today.
Yeah, as Damo just said, he said it in jest, but he fully understands. As he said at half-time, he apologises for it, and I'm sure he'll never go down that path again.
Yeah, pretty strong language there from the 7 this morning. Yeah, let's move on to St Kilda. Smashed again on yesterday. Alan Richardson will join us in about 5 minutes' time, so stick around for that. It'll be fascinating. Bill?
Yes?
What do you make of it?
Oh, look, they just got beaten. We know where St Kilda are. They're struggling. They're bringing some kids through. They're trying to play some kids. Nicky Revolt's getting frustrated up there, but they're just... I don't know. They're really struggling. I don't know where he goes, and we'll ask Richo this when he comes on. And Nicky Dell playing against them yesterday. What was it, first of all, like playing against the old side?
Probably one of the least enjoyable 2 hours of my football career. I didn't look forward to it at all. And that was a little bit of banter there by Rui.
Yeah.
I got a free kick out of that. So
you got a free...
One of my few kicks for the day. No, I didn't enjoy it all, Bill.
Yeah.
I mean, it was obviously a great day that we could have a win, and we need to, particularly by the way our season have been going. But it's not nice going up against the guys that you've done a lot of work with over the years.
How do you feel about their plight? I mean, you're a long time, very successful St Kilda stalwart. When you retire, you'll be regarded as one of St Kilda's greats. How are you feeling about how they go?
Yeah, I'm not enjoying it. I went to the game last week when they played Carlton and really felt uncomfortable watching that game. And not necessarily by the way that the team's going, because I understand the process, but just the frustration in the guys' eyes. And, seeing Nick, Lee Montagno and Lenny Hayes, these guys that I've played with for 12 years, and I know the work that they put in, and I know how much it means to them and how important that place is to them. So I don't get any enjoyment out of seeing them going through this.
And you said during the week that, for the first time I've heard it, that if you had your choice, in a sense, you would have liked to have stayed, or was their decision not yours?
Well, not exactly. I mean, it was a little bit more complicated than that, but I had a contract, so obviously there was a place for me to be there. But as the year went on and, things were said and worked through, that it was a mutual agreement. So I obviously had to agree to leave, and then they had to agree to let me go. So
it worked out better now. You would be really struggling like Joey is and probably Nick in that environment.
Yeah, I'll probably prefer to be winning games as I am at the moment, but by saying that, I don't get any enjoyment by seeing those guys going through
Bit
that.
of niggle. You got a hard tag with Shane Savage.
Yeah, I played a bit of half forward on the weekend, and Savage was doing his job, I assume, and There's a little bit of...
They-
Oh, look, he's shaped up there. Have a look at Savage. He goes, crikey, I'm not touching him again.
Was it?
Have a look at him shape up
Well, they
here.
had to tag you yesterday to not let.
Oscar De La Hoya.
Yeah, I was sort of hoping they'd let me run around by myself, but I played half full with Brent Harvey and we got the win. We did the job, so I was happy with that.
Can I ask you one question before we
Yes.
move on? Scott Waters told us last Sunday that the senior coach has little to no say in player movement. Do you accept that, and do you think he had a role in moving you out?
I'm not sure. I can't tell you definitively either way, but I would have assumed that the senior coach who was in control of the 45 players would have a say in what happens at that football club.
Do you think he was being a bit cheeky there?
Maybe a bit forgetful. I'm not sure. From my end, I don't know because it's not my job. I only knew what was going on from my end.
But with you specifically, did he have a role in you leaving?
I'd have to say he had some part.
Yeah.
It's his job to be a part of that football club, and as the senior coach, you'd have to say that he was a part of the decision. Absolutely.
Damien, Gil
losses.
McLaughlin was in the rooms post-game yesterday.
Yeah, there's so many losses, so many big losses, and these are strange vision here. I mean, this is the head of the AFL. Look, he has got a very good relationship with Nick Riewoldt, but he's in the rooms. He was down there to
St
watch the
Kilda
game,
supporter.
obviously. St Kilda supporter, but it's unusual, Bill. I mean, these are deep thoughts he's gone through right here.
He went to North Melbourne's rooms
that's
as well,
the
didn't he?
chief executive and the chairman there, Peter Summers and Matt Finnis as well. So,
Hey,
You
Dana,
have a
would
problem with that? You're saying you have
not a problem at all. I think it's just it's
I
an
like
unusual
it.
situation
I
to
like
see
it.
the CEO in deep conversation with a captain
Does
of
it
a
have
struggling
anything
club.
to do with how bad the club is going on and off the field?
Look, I would think he might have gone to the rooms anyway, but look, that club is, and we'll speak to Alan Richardson about part of this issue, that club is in close to turmoil with where it's at, and what it stands for, where it is based as a starting point, and how much money it's losing and what is going to happen. And as Nicky Dell said, it hasn't bottomed out yet, and Gil knows that. And it's a problem for him. It's a real problem for the AFL.
Was he in your rooms, the CEO?
He may have. I didn't see him, but we were pretty quick to have a shower and get out of there yesterday. It was a little bit fresh for us, but no, I didn't see him in the room, but he could have been there.
Dal, one of your teammates and one of the greatest players to play the game is Brent Harvey, and Dermot Brereton certainly gave him a spray a couple of weeks ago. Well, Brent Harvey was able to give it back to him yesterday. This is what happened.
The selfish thing probably didn't sit well with me. That's the biggest thing. You could call me whatever you want. Probably selfish is not one of them, only because I really think I'm not. And it's a big, broad statement as well. It's a blanket as well. If you had a couple of examples in there or something like that, it might have been a little bit better to read, Dermy. You're media, Dermy. I said last week I wasn't a great fan. I might stick with that because you gave me one last week and I'm going to give you one right now. I'll switch off the radio when Dermot Brereton's on it.
Dal, it was a bit jovial at the end there, but he had a crack at you too. I mean, how did you take it personally? Obviously, Boomer took it a little bit personally, and he's played better footy. Not because of it, but I think he plays good footy most weeks, and he just had a bad week a couple of weeks ago when he wrote the article.
Yeah, I wasn't thrilled with the article. It basically said that I was lazy, and that's something that I obviously don't want to be tagged with, and Boomer was labelled as selfish, which is another word you don't want to... But by saying that, you need to understand, and the players, particularly the older guys, understand where the media are coming from. They write an article, it's an entertainment piece, so people pick up the paper and enjoy what they're reading. And they're entitled to that, because you also get the other side where people pump you up. And I haven't called anybody to say, hey, thanks for getting around me. You only call them when you're disappointed or you're not happy with what they've written. So you can't have it both ways, and that's what I reckon
Did you call Dermot about it?
No, I've never spoken. I'm actually perfectly fine with it. I mean, I wasn't thrilled with the article, but that's all right. You move on.
Wish every footballer had that attitude.
But I think once you're in the media yourself, you realise, don't you? You realise that you got to cop it.
It's an entertainment business,
exactly.
and you understand that.
Yeah.
Porto, the Dogs are building. You've been their harshest critic. Their last month's been fantastic.
They have been good. Their last month has been great, Hutch, but they finished well last year, so that's just the main point on them. And
It's time for you to give them some credit, though. They've
No,
been building for some
I
time.
like the Collingwood win, the Gold Coast win was good.
Two big
but
scalps.
I'd hate for them to be in this position this time next year. Because, as I said, they got on a roll last year as well. But the big sign is, Bill, their kids who are coming through.
Jackson McRae is outstanding. He got a whack last week from his coach. He actually spent the first half against Geelong on the bench.
Why didn't they tag him in the third quarter, Bill, when he had 16 touches?
Well, he had 27 after half-time. He's the youngest player ever to get over 40 touches, 43 touches, 5 tackles. He kicked 2 important goals.
This goal's a
is
beautiful
one
goal.
of them, yeah. And he was outstanding last night. So well done to him, because he got a whack from the coach. He's only a young fella. And he could easily said, "Oh, stuff you, Macca," but he come out and did that last night. So
that whack he got, Bill, it was unusual for Brendan McCartney to do it. He's
It
normally
was.
very, very measured. But
Too
he
honest.
had this to say, and this is about as scathing as a coach has been this year on a player.
Everyone would look at Jack McRae getting it 25 times a game and doing this and doing that. Jack's been letting us down in some areas, and those areas he's well aware of, and they actually bobbed up again late in the game today. He was actually lucky to stay on the side.
too honest.
Yeah, really open. And look, he did retract, or at least partially retract, or give a context to those comments later in the week, Brendan McCartney, but played him this week after subbing him last week. Suns lost the game, guys, without Ablett. It's now, I think, a 6.
None of the 6 without Gary in their history.
I don't put that down to Gary not being there yesterday, guys. I put it down to the real toil of last week in that last quarter when they couldn't substitute any players.
Yeah,
or
they
interchange.
tied. They were flat and tied.
I'm prepared to forgive them for what happened yesterday.
But it puts them in a terrible position, though, now. That's a bad loss. You don't want to be losing to bottom 4 or 5 clubs if you want to play finals footy.
The next 3 weeks is pretty good still, on paper.
Yeah, but
the bye
Melbourne,
next week. Yep.
Yeah, I was at the MCG yesterday, and for all the good talk that Melbourne have had and the positivity, I think they've been really disappointing the last month, and this is their big issue. You can defend all you like, but if you're not hitting the scoreboard, you just eventually get punished, which Fremantle did to them last week, Geelong did to them yesterday. So Paul Roos has been setting about not getting belted by 100 points, and he's starting from a low base in terms of teaching them how to defend. But as I said, the damn wall was going to break yesterday, and Geelong just punished them. They could take all the risks they wanted, Dale, because Melbourne just don't know how to score.
Yeah, I didn't see the game, unfortunately, Lloydie, but I've actually really respected the way Melbourne's gone about it this year. And we played them probably a month ago, and they were competitive throughout the whole game, and we won by about 40 points at the end of the day. But we walked off that ground knowing that we'd been in a contest, and they probably just dropped off. It's a hard winter, and it's hard this time of year to get up every week. And they've got a big challenge coming up.
No, they had no goal kickers, so maybe Frawley should have gone forward yesterday.
No, but he had to use him on Hawkins yesterday. But look, and Paul Roos after the game actually did admit that the frustrations of coaching this team are getting pretty big at the moment.
Yeah, I reckon it's pretty disappointing just from an effort point of view. We've got back to, I've probably talked about it a bit, minimum standards. I reckon we sort of got back to that level of performance over the last sort of 10 or 12 weeks. Thought today, we dropped back below those standards that we were able to get to. And look, I was probably the same. It looked to me like, we just had too many guys that weren't all that interested in competing today.
With the Geelong Football Club, you can't give them the corridor. We saw about 5 or 6 weeks ago, Sydney beat them by 120 points because they just did not allow Geelong the corridor. But yesterday, because Melbourne aren't really trying to score or don't know how to score, Geelong could take all the risks in the world. That's where Geelong want to get the footy. There's Stephen Motlop, who is the real key to Geelong the last 2 weeks. He is the X factor for Geelong, who they haven't had most of the year due to fitness. But this is how they go out wide, but once they get it sort of past that centre line, they want to bring it inboard. This was just a great coast-to-coast bit of play that would scare the opposition clubs with what Geelong are capable of doing. Here's another one on half-back. Murdoch, a hard runner. Obviously, Corey Enright back, and Christensen, a hard runner. And obviously, Stevie Motlop's involved. And Shane Kirsten, Bill, you'd be pretty happy with what he's doing.
Good back in the shot, Lotto.
As that secondary option. And then here's another one, the player. Kirsten involved again. And you've got also Joel Selwood. They can just run hard against the Melbourne Footy Club because they know they're not going to be hurt.
Here he is.
This is what Melbourne don't have. They don't have a line breaker. So Joel Selwood started from half-back. Shane Kirsten was the first one to take the mark. He keeps running. So maybe, I know it was a weakened opposition yesterday, but Geelong and that corridor football, if you can't stop it, they're still a hard team to beat.
You think they're still in the hunt?
I think they can still win it. I've had my doubts, but I still think if they can get to top 4, they're as good a chance as anyone.
Their first half yesterday was the best I've seen, I reckon, nearly for the year.
Only against Melbourne.
Against
what do you think, Del?
I don't care. I don't think they can win it because I think Sydney's better than them at the moment.
But the grand final is still 3 months away, so there's a lot that can go wrong between them.
Jack Watts has had periods of 2014 where people thought he was coming out of his form slump, but Lee Matthews, as you'll hear here, is not so sure.
To be cruel, you just think Jack Watts should be playing basketball, shouldn't you? He looks, he's got skills, he's got movement, but he just doesn't look like he's a contact sport player.
Wow, it's a fairly big hit on a player.
But he's right. He's right.
He should be playing basketball.
No, I was there yesterday, and it was the type of game that if you want to get into it, you need to be physical.
Yeah.
And you need to take the hit, win some contested footy, and he wasn't willing to do that yesterday.
So what do you do there?
He's putting his career in other people's hands, Jack Watts. And we talk about it 3 or 4 times a year. Paul Roos will say it always comes back to Jack Watts. But he's the type of player that you want to take them from being a 4-win team to 8-win team by that development. But he was still floating around the football field yesterday.
You say it's time for Melbourne to make a call on Jack
Watts? Well, I don't know what they'd get for him. They put too much into him. He's a round 1 choice. They've spent years and years with him. So you don't want to have to give him away. But, Paul Roos will persevere with him because he's a first choice. But he's a very, very disappointing player.
Righto, let's get into things a bit more lighter note. Plenty of hot stuff there. Things that caught your eye on the weekend. Billy, we start with you.
I'll have a look at Eric McKenzie here, the backman from the West Coast Eagles. I'll just cross goal and hit the post, Dopey. You idiot. Come on, Eka. Fair dinkum. The under-12s wouldn't do that. Look at Eka. Oh, Spud McKenzie. And Adam Simpson goes, fair dinkum, Eka. You've got to be kidding me. Fair dinkum. How's he do that?
Now, I haven't been here the last 2 weeks, and I've missed out on this for a couple of weeks. But when you're one of the great games of the greats of this in this game, which Matthew Lloyd is, he has his own end down there at the Etihad Stadium. I noticed when I was in Sydney during the week, he wrote an article. I'm going to put this article up here, written by Matthew Lloyd. Lloyd and Buckley, two of the game greats, sit down. Now, Lloyd, people know you're a great of the game, but when you are a great, it's up to other people to call you a great. You do not call yourself a great of the game.
You don't write the headline. Thank you very much. I don't write headlines.
Yes, you do.
I agree with the headline, but I don't write it.
Nicky Dell.
This is what caught my eye. One of the studs of the AFL boys plays for Melbourne now, Bernard Vince. Now, he's obviously a good-looking fella, but Bern, stick with your traditional haircut because it was doing him well, and he's just gone with that little nest, whatever, so it's not working. But no, it'll grow back hopefully, Lloydie.
Everyone's probably wondering where Shane Crawford is. Well, he's actually on a plane to New Zealand to go bungee jumping as part of a dare. You see it. Sam Newman is in economy. He's in economy. He's used to Ferraris. He's used to caviar. He's used to the works. So he's flat as a tack. Whereas Shane Crawford, economy is like first class for him. He's just a tiny little weeny little man. So he's as happy as Larry.
His teeth are lucky to fit on there. They're the biggest set of...
Where's the punchline?
Come on,
Big show ahead. Don't forget Thursday night too, the Footy Show. Brian Lake, Patrick Dangerfield, Nick Revolt to join us Thursday night at 8:30 exclusive on the Footy Show. What a massive year it's having in its 21st year. Plenty more to come. Stevie J, stick around for that. And up next, the Saints are under siege. The coach Alan Richardson joins us right here in the studio, exclusively on your Sunday Footy Show. Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show. St Kilda's sorry season continued yesterday. North Melbourne far too good in Hobart, Bill. It was a classic effort by the Kangaroos.
Well, it was indeed. It was important for them to start well, Nicky Dell, after last week's very good win. Also, there it is there, and they did. They kicked 5 goals in that first quarter. Lindsay Thomas a couple, Bastanak. Wright was good early. He had 30. Harvey, Boomer, Gibson, Armitage. I liked his game. It was a good, hard game. Montagna and Hayes. And couldn't buy a goal early, the poor old Saints. Actually took them a quarter and nearly 2 quarters. But the St Kilda coach has joined us, Alan Richardson. Welcome, Richo. Thanks for coming in, mate.
Good to be here, Billy.
North were good early and you just couldn't find a goal anywhere, mate.
No, we couldn't. In fact, the second quarter, I think we kicked 1 goal, 6, or I think it was, with 7 scoring shots to the Kangaroos 4. We had a real opportunity to get ourselves back in the game on the scoreboard, but it was pleasing to get back in the contest. That was certainly the feeling at half-time, not only from us as coaches, but the players, because we were poor early, there's no doubt about that.
Richo, there's a perception from the outside, Damien even used the word in the first segment today, that your footy club is in turmoil on and off the field. Is it fair?
No, it's far from the case. I think as much as any footy club in the competition, we have no illusions about where we're at, and so strategically we're all heading in the same direction. You've only got to look at the decisions the club made at the end of last year to get rid of a couple of former champions of the club to make sure that we can do the right thing strategically and get into the front end of the draft. And with that, we've got Dunstan, we've got Billings, Akers. We haven't seen a lot of Templeton, a rookie, but shown a lot of promise. So that's pretty clear our direction. We know it's going to take a while. We need to get games into these guys, but we think our future's pretty exciting. It
would appear from the outside that you haven't bottomed out yet, Alan. That you've got 8 to 10 players, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, up as high as 34. All you call Revolt, Montagna, Hayes, Fisher, so many in that arc still to retire. Have you hit rock bottom yet?
We'll certainly have some experience go out of the group, there's no doubt about that. But the reality is that those guys play a really significant role in all footy clubs. The Bulldogs played well yesterday, and I would say that half a dozen of their top players outside of McRae would have been Minson and Boyd and Murphy, and they play a really important role, not only when you're in a position to win one, but certainly in the position we're in terms of rebuilding. So some of those guys have got 3 and 4 years left, Hutchie. Some of those guys, might be giving it away this year. But the reality is that younger blokes will get those opportunities. David Armitage will become the main man inside, and we saw what he could do yesterday, even though Lenny was alongside him.
But back to my original question, do you think you've hit rock bottom? Have you bottomed out yet, or is there more worse pain to come?
No, look, it's hard to say. One thing I do know, having joined the Port Adelaide Footy Club last year, at the start of the year, they'd had 2 seasons of 3 wins and 5 wins respectively. In those teams were people like Jonas and Boak, Ebert, Tringove, etc., that have now proven to be really good footballers. That the plan was to win 8 games last year. The plan this year was to win 10. You just don't put ceilings on young groups. And
with respect, it's a little different. Like they had 3, 4, 5-year players.
Oh no,
you got no one between the age of 20 and 28 of any substance.
No, we'll take a bit longer. Absolutely, we won't go as quickly as they've done. But in terms of being much more competitive, and that's where we've been pretty poor for 10 losses in a row now. Early in the year, when Gilbert and Geary and some of our experience are out there, and we've got a bit more synergy in the way we play, we are much more competitive. But right now, because of circumstances, we're definitely undermanned. We've got a pretty inexperienced group out there, but it's a great opportunity to get games into these young players, and that's only going to put us in a good position. Going forward, though, to try and answer your question, I've got no doubt that with another pre-season with these young blokes, we'll go to the draft again and get some talent in. We'll trade and get some guys like Delaney, who's playing some really good footy. Savage, who we thought, he's had a pretty good month for us. We'll keep building.
Richo, on that Savage, the move yesterday to play him on Nicky Dell, it was a good move because he did a good job. Nick was okay, so was Shane. But was it because they didn't know each other, they hadn't played together before?
No, not really. We're just committed to you can imagine the space that we're in, Browning. We're committed to get blokes playing in positions that we want to play. There was not a lot that we read into that at all, really. Sav's given us some really good ball use off halfback for a month now, and I think Dell against the Hawks the week before it had 38 possessions. So we thought that while Dell still had an influence, we thought that we controlled him reasonably well. He's obviously a quality player and really important to their drive, and we thought Sav was pretty positive.
Now, you've had some elite players through the midfield. Montagna, Hayes, obviously Del Santo's left, Goddard's left, Dunstan. Was saying off air that you think he can become elite, and probably Jack Stephen is burgeoning on becoming that now.
Yeah, no, and that's been the frustration. We're a young, inexperienced group. We've got some outstanding leaders at the top end, Lenny, Rui, Joey, etc. But you bring in Lenny Hayes and Jack Stephen goes out, and he's going to be out for probably for a fairly long period, you would think. It's frustrating, but it gives someone else an opportunity. David Armitage has to step up, and we only kicked 3 goals. He kicked 2 of them. He's had 11 tackles. He's 10 clearances. A really strong game, and that's the space we're in. We need to give opportunities, and we're forced to give opportunities to young players. And for a big part of the season, they've stepped up and they proved, albeit not consistently throughout a game, but there's periods of game where they've done enough to suggest they're going to be good for us going forward.
North Melbourne started well yesterday, kicked the first 5 goals, of course, at quarter time, led by 5 goals. And then, as we said, St Kilda didn't get a goal till late in this second quarter here. Boom was outstanding again. Todd Goldstein was really, really good in the ruck with 39 hit-outs. And Nick Revolt, I want to talk to you about him, Richo, because we've seen him frustrated over the last couple of weeks with some of the kicking, but then also yesterday, he actually would have been frustrated with himself with his kicking at goal.
Yeah, no, he's an incredibly proud man. He's been an outstanding player, and this year he's probably been a better leader than he has a player, and that's saying something because he still would be up there, I reckon, in terms of the Coleman. He's one of the most influential forwards in the game still. He gets double teamed, that's frustrating enough, and at times our ball use to him is ordinary. But yeah, no, he did. He had a couple of opportunities, as I said, the second quarter, 7 scoring shots to 4. We kept the Kangaroos on the day to 48 entries. We laid 83 tackles. Our effort was pretty strong. We thought we were certainly much more competitive than the week before, but they were a bit too good. And when you don't make the most of those opportunities, if we halve we kick 3-15. If we halve that, we go at 9-9. They kick 13. You're talking about a 4-goal game as opposed to what it ended up being.
I was just going to ask Richo in regards to leadership. Obviously, I think Nick's the best leader I've ever played under, and I think he's probably underestimated in the leader that he is. Who do you see the next one coming through? Because say 18 months, all those guys won't be there. Who's the next guy that you'd have to say right now could be that could step up to that level?
I think David Armitage has shown when he's had to step up early in the year in the absence of Lenny. Jack Stephen wasn't playing. He was really strong in terms of, and he was the one that was copying the focus of the opposition. So, and I want my leaders to be really strong on game day. They need to be good off the field as well. But in terms of setting the example, and that's where we're at. He's really good. Jaron Geary's a really impressive person, Dale. You would know of him. He's not a flashy footballer. He's not someone that's going to get a lot of attention, but he's quite a challenging guy. He demands a lot of his teammates. His preparation is outstanding. So those two are really strong.
Hey, Richo, just moving forward to next year, would you at St Kilda have $600,000-$700,000 or a fair bit of space in the salary cap to try and target some players from other clubs to bring across in that age bracket that you probably lack a little bit around that 24 years of age?
Oh, look, I'm not sure about that sort of money, Lloyd. Philosophically, we won't look at free agency for a couple of years. No, we'll be going to the draft. We'll do what we've done from a trading perspective if we need. Delaney, Bruce hasn't played in recent weeks, but he's shown enough to suggest he's going to be a player for us going forward.
Free agency's out the window, though.
Yeah, it is for a couple of years, Hutchie. Yeah,
why is that?
We just don't think that's the direction that we want to take. We think that the model that we've decided to go down is the right way, and that is to get in young players, to be patient, to make sure that we get games into these blokes.
But a 5 for someone would be an exception.
Look, there's no doubt that if something was incredibly attractive and it sat in the demographic you're after from an age perspective and a positional perspective, then absolutely you would look at it. But philosophically, it's about drafting and then potentially trades like Savage, Delaney, Bruce, etc.
Some conjecture about this. How much say do you get in the list?
Yeah, no, there's been a little bit of noise about that. Certainly fairly significant with respect to the way that the game should be played. What players do we need into our footy club? Do we need speed? Do we need a bit more grunt? Do we need forwards? And then players from other clubs, from a trading perspective, not unlike decisions that were made last year with players that left the footy club or players like Savage, Delaney, etc. that come in, a really significant say, absolutely.
Okay, your president said last year that, just one more before we go to the race if we can upstairs, so the president said a premiership by 2020 and you challenged by 2018. Was that selling the footy club or was it realistic?
Oh, it's absolutely realistic. As long as we're prepared to stick fat as a footy club and stay the course and continue to go the draft and keep bringing in quality players, then I've got no doubt that we can be in those sort of positions.
By the end of the decade?
Absolutely.
Okay, fascinating. The votes, Bill?
There they are at Chemist Warehouse. We saw Gil McLaughlin in the rooms. Did you have a chat to him? Was he happy or what were you talking about?
No, I can't say I did. I had to go and do a little bit for our own media department straight after. Oh, no, I think we all know he's a Saints man. I've had a few conversations. In fact, all the coaches go to his house on Monday for a bit of a powwow, but look, he's a great fella. It's great to see him down there and support the players. He's got some pretty strong relationships with some of the more experienced fellas. I think he was there almost as a supporter.
Yeah, well, that's fascinating. Saints.com.au, get on board and support your footy club at a time that they needed. Your coach and your team are doing a great job outselling the club, even in difficult times. Well done for facing up today. Never easy, and good luck with the journey ahead of rebuilding this footy club.
Thanks, guys.
Alan Richardson joining us, the St Kilda coach. A break, Stevie J, along next on the Sunday Footy Show. Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show. A fairly simple day at the office for the Cats yesterday as the Demons struggled, Matthew Lloyd, and maybe just some real big-time form return for the Cats.
Yeah, some great signs there from some of the younger batch of players and also the senior heads there. Hawkins was solid with 3 goals. Kirsten looks good, but those senior bodies, Selwood, Callie Johnson were brilliant, and probably for the Demons, Nathan Jones tried hard, but was it was too much, the midfield of Geelong on the day. But one of the players who was back in his Brownlow best form, or those career best form, was Stevie Johnson. Stevie, well played yesterday. There's been some talk. You've had a few little niggles. You look like you'll be covering the ground pretty well yesterday.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Had a few little niggles the last few weeks, but been able to train fully of recent times, and starting to get back to my best.
And Stevie, another player who's been back to his best over the last fortnight has been Stephen Motlop. How different does he make the Geelong Football Club?
Yeah, he makes a huge difference. He obviously missed a fair bit of the pre-season and had a bad knee, but he's 3 or 4 weeks back now, been sensational. When his work rate is as high as it was yesterday, he's a very hard man to stop.
How would you stop him, Steve-O? Because he just, once he's going, he's away. Oh, he's lost his voice. All right,
lost his earpiece, Bill.
Hey, we'll show the highlights. We'll go to the highlights here. Let's have a look here. And this is Motlop. Have a look. Gets it on the half-back line, and they know they're going to give it to him, don't they, Lordy?
You have to keep him goal side, Dal. I know it's easier said than done, but once he's off to the races.
Yeah, it's easy saying that from here, Lordy. He's, we played him a few weeks ago, and they basically get to half-back. Those half-forwards work all the way to half-back, and then it's like a slingshot. Away they go, and they use handballs, a little bit kamikaze at times. But when it comes off, it's sensational.
Well, inside 50s were 57 to 30, so they just couldn't get the ball inside.
Hartman,
Forward.
Hartman was all right.
Yeah, he was good early. He had 11 or 12 touches. And the other one, Bill, who I loved yesterday, was Harry Taylor.
Yes.
I know he was good against the Dogs last week, but he looked to be moving better as well.
No doubt about that. I think he's had a bit of a knee complaint there, but again, he was marking well, he was punching well, and he uses the ball really well for a big fella, Harry Taylor.
Lordy, the hardest position in the ground to play is centre-half forward. Young Kirsten's doing a fairly good job at that at the moment. Can he stand up come finals time? Because I've loved the way he's worked.
Yeah, I think he's a better option than having a tall ruckman down there. I think Brenny just seems to know the game really well. Hamish McIntosh is going well for the Cats, but I think he's played 4 games, but he seems to know his way around the forward line. Bill, he's got a good pair of hands and a nice kick for goal.
Yeah, Stevie, I think we got you again, mate. And we're just talking about Shane Kirsten. We love the way that he's a forward and he just goes back and nails the goals. And he's been really, really good for Tom Hawkins up there.
Yeah, he sure has been, Bill. He's a very talented player, and he's just one of those players that seems to always kick goals no matter where he plays. He's got a lot of talent, and if he can keep building on his first few games, he's going to be a dangerous asset for us towards the end of the year.
And Stevie, a lot being said about Joel Selwood over the last couple of weeks with a potential injury, or he's niggling a little bit. How did he go yesterday?
Who was that, sorry?
That was Joel Selwood, the captain.
Joel Selwood. Yeah, no, he has had a bit of a sore quad, but yeah, certainly in that first quarter yesterday, really led the way from it for us and got us off to a start, and it made the day a lot easier from there.
Now, Stephen, you put that in your ear and we talk to you and you answer us back. It's not that hard.
Boys, it's echoing. I can hear myself talk. It's the hardest thing in the world. So that first question, I don't even know what I was talking about.
It sounded like Hutchie did say, geez, your teeth are looking good.
Yeah, I went and seen Tony Jones's dentist, boys.
Yeah, the votes. A few demons had tried hard. Howe was okay forward. Jack Viney worked hard as well. But the 4 players was Stevie Motlop was brilliant. Joel Selwood, Harry Taylor loved his game, and Stevie J, you were also in there. Back to your best, but. You also bit off a few passes, and you didn't like that question being asked of you of Dwayne Russell last week.
Oh, no, I thought it was a little bit rich coming from him. Not known for his skills coming out of the Geelong backline back in the late 80s. But no, it's fair enough. He's entitled to his opinion.
There you go. A feeling. And that's Stevie. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Very conventional interview. We appreciate your time, and good luck with the rest of the season and with getting the earpiece working.
And you're getting no prizes.
No worries. Sorry about that, boys.
And your teeth.
Stevie Johnson joining us, one of the greats of the Cats. Break, a heap more to get through here on your Sunday Footy Show. With the Sunday Footy Show, Swans were magnificent again last night on the back of 6 goals from Buddy Franklin. The Blues have got some issues. A 71-point win from the Sydney-based powerhouse.
Yeah, they were fantastic. Henderson, he worked okay. Mark Murphy, 29. Gibbs, 29. They were their best players. Kennedy, 41. McVeigh, 29. Kieran Jack also had 27. They were absolutely amazing last night, Sydney. I thought Carlton's early form... Have a look at this goal first from Gary Rowan. The pace he used against Zach Tui, he just split him open. There was absolutely no scoring early in this game. I think it was 1 goal to 1 in the first quarter. Carlton did a really good job. Early, they were able to drop numbers back behind the play. So they had Andrew Walker getting behind the ball. They had Jamison at times getting behind the ball. They also had Cade Simpson. So they were able to get a 2-on-1 a lot of times in this first quarter, and they were able to spoil Buddy Franklin, they were able to spoil Sam Reid, and they were right in this game. They kicked a goal on half-time. This is a beauty of a goal from Sam Reid. Just took it away. They're the concentration lapses Mick Moldhouse is talking about. He should never be able to walk away from a contest and kick a goal like that. But Carlton were up for the contest. They did really well. This is right on half-time. Blaine Johnson, the young man, kicks a goal, puts him with his 7 points. Every Carlton player got to Blaine Johnson. And there was just emotion, raw emotion going into the rooms. You thought tested mark. So he took a really good one on Rowe, he took a really good one on Jamison, and he was able to do that. So that was the difference in the second half. Purely Sydney were able to win the ball in the middle, and also Buddy Franklin.
Now, what do you got for us, Nate? What do you got?
Bit of screen time. I missed it for a couple of weeks. But Mick Moldhouse spoke after the game about Carlton's concentration. In the third quarter, 10 goals to zip. It was concentration and a little bit of work ethic, I think. Have a look at some of these. This ball goes in here. Have a look where their big ruckman is, Robbie Warnock. He needs to be back here, clunking this ball away. Sam Reid does it up the other end time and time again, but Sam Reid, too easy to take a mark. Robbie Warnock, you need to be in position there to knock that away. Bryce Gibbs, I thought he was Carlton's best last night, but concentration again. Allows McVeigh too much space here. I'm not sure, he's caught on the back foot. Another concentration. 2 goals straight up in the third quarter. All of a sudden, they're on the back foot. Over here, trailing in. Chris Judd's on Jeddah, and also Chris Yarran is on the skipper in McVeigh. The ball goes forward. Jeddah gets in front of Chris Judd, so not that bad, but they get the ball in. And then this is the bad part. Adam Goods takes a pretty good mark, and we saw Chris Yarran in the clip, but we don't see Chris Yarran now, where Jared McVeigh runs down all on his own. They're 3 goals that you could really not give away. And then this is after 10 goals have been kicked. Chris Yarran laughing. I don't think Mick Moldhouse or the Carlton supporters would appreciate that after a 10-goal quarter.
And it's ironical that Tom Mitchell can't get a game when his dad played for both teams and he's in the reserves. It would have been anyone else in the reserves.
I know. I think they wanted to make this team quicker, and that's why he's fallen out of favour. There'll be a lot of clubs still maybe queuing up for Tom Mitchell at the end of the year.
Absolutely. The other one to mention is Ryan O'Keefe, who we've sort of forgotten about, but obviously couldn't get in at the start of the year, and now that things have started to really go in their favour, it's going to be tough going.
Make a big call about Luke Power. I think Luke Parker, I mean. Even though Josh Kennedy had 41 possessions, might be in line for a Brownlow, I think Luke Parker's their premier midfielder. And I think he is the man to stop at the moment. He kicks goals, he wins his own footy, he runs, he uses it well. I think he's gone ahead of Josh Kennedy and Jared McVeigh for pure influence in a game.
And they've still got Hanbury to come back as well.
Yeah. Kennedy, Franklin, Reid and Parker. He was a very good player last night.
Doesn't make any sense.
But Kennedy had 41 disposals.
Kennedy got 2 more votes.
Kennedy had 41. I didn't say last night. I said over the course of the season, Craig. And he's the premier midfielder.
You've been up in Sydney,
Craig.
You've been up in Sydney too much out there doing the... How'd you go up there, all right?
Yeah, pretty good.
Right, let's move on.
Invite me back.
Brisbane and the West Coast Eagles, boys, and it was a contest right at the end. Brisbane came at them late, but a 12-point win when Hutchings kicked the goal at the end.
Yeah, pretty uninspiring game, this one, Hutch. Luke Shuey was the standout. Lucky he was playing. He was a class act yesterday. They got out of the blocks, the West Coast Eagles. Here's Patfull kicked an early goal. From defence for the Brisbane Lions, he's kicked this one, but the West Coast Eagles kicked the next 3 goals. And as I said, it wasn't much of a game, pretty scrappy. But Luke Shuey, Bill, has kicked 2 goals in the first quarter, and probably back to his form from a few years ago.
Yeah, well, he struggles with a tag, and they didn't tag him last night, actually. Leopard doesn't like to tag too many there, and he was very, very good also. But the Eagles also made 6 changes, didn't they, Thursday night? So that's a lot of changes. So this is a pretty good win, I would have thought, up at the Gabba to win by 2 goals. And as you said, Hutchins kicks a goal, Craig Hutchison kicks a goal here late in the game to win it for him, because the Lions got within a goal, didn't they, late in the game?
They did, and one of the positives for the West Coast was McGovern's form.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you've come across him, Nicky Dell, but a really great pair of hands. He'll be in the votes later on. They come hard late, the Lions. Green, who's had a brilliant year, and Mays kicks that one, and Green gets another one later on. But this was Mark Lecras. I think he's a player also that we've forgotten about. He was in one of the best 10 players in the game a number of years ago. Smith kicked a couple of goals late, Brownie. So it's a pretty even sort of game. But
Lions are definitely improving, aren't they? Watched them last week. They were pretty good again last night. Even though they were playing West Coast at home, you expect the West Coast to win this game comfortably. But the Brisbane Lions, from a couple of pretty ordinary performances early on in the year, Justin Lepich has got them playing not a bad brand of footy. They're not any world beaters, but they're certainly a lot better than what people gave them credit for early in the year.
And look at that, puts them within a goal, and then Hutchie stands up here like he did in the EJ Witten game. Have a look at this. Good goal here.
This is a very cool-handed goal, isn't it?
It is.
And Matty Prittis is another player who is underrated in the AFL competition here in Melbourne, but he was a standout yet again. But the votes, Hutch, there was West Coast Eagles dominated it, apart from that man, Stephen Martin, who's come into some great form over the last month at the Brisbane Lions. So Shuey gets 8. He was a standout. McGovern 7.
Shooter.
Stephen Martin and also Matty Prittis gets 7 votes.
Shooter McGovern.
And have a look at this West Coast Eagles Dom Sheed. He falls into the Gatorade. Unbelievable stuff here. Have a look at it. Bang! Oh, crikey. Knocks it all over. They've got to get more Gatorade.
He's thirsty.
Yeah. Good work.
You've never heard of him.
No, Dom Sheed. Good player. He's going to be all right, Sheed. Call him Sheedy.
Plenty more to come. Sunday agenda, all the fallout to the Bulldogs win over the Gold Coast Suns next to on your Sunday Footy Show.
Lawnmower thing, so you get down and you start it up and then you're just up above here looking around and...
Yeah, when does it go? It goes something like that, doesn't it?
The old school ones going, get the finger point.
I'll try and do it for you. Just be like...
Oh, you know, the day comes, you go, yeah, woo! I just sit there and just bop, like that.
I usually bust that one at the bar every now and then.
Tommy Curran taught me to shuffle.
I'm shuffling. Oh, James Frawley's actually been teaching me a bit of the Ballarat shuffle. Just a groove. I like this.
Yeah, there's this new one out at the moment, it's called Muzzing.
I just like to get out there and have a good time, so...
Probably this one.
Talk dirty to me.
This one's called Michael Phelps.
All right, there you go. Some of the moves from the boys around the competition. We'll have a look at Bill's moves and Lordo's a little bit later on in the show.
Can move.
Let's get into the big win. What's your go-to move, Lordo?
Didn't need one, huh?
The lure.
The Dogs.
The lure.
The Dogs by 28 points. Hey, Bill, in all seriousness, this was a seismic blow to the Gold Coast Suns. First finals hope.
No, it was 2 points in it, three-quarter time. Don't worry about that. And they looked tired. They looked slow. They'd had enough. I think last week had caught up with them when they couldn't have any, or had 2 rotations in the last quarter. Did catch up with them in that last quarter hit.
In the midfield, his engine's a lot better. He's really breaking the lines now. I reckon he's one of the most improved players in the comp this year.
No, exactly right. And he kicks goals. He missed an important one yesterday just before half-time, but he kicks goals there. But really, a really good win by the... I like the Doggies. They've got some really good kids. I know there's some older players there. They need to find a couple of goal kickers. Stringer was okay. He kicked a couple. But they've just got to find someone else to kick goals for them. Redpath's the other boy that played last week against the Cats and didn't do a lot in wet conditions and kicked one yesterday, Nicky Dale.
Now, I know you looked at this game closely, Bill. How did the Gold Coast midfield operate without Gary? Obviously a huge... You can't replace him, that's obvious.
No, can't.
But those other guys, were they able to fill the void at all?
No, they're okay, but no Gazza, no Suns, and it's a fact. They still haven't won a game without Gary Ablett, and that's he's only missed 6 games, by the way, in the last few years, but they still haven't won a game. So they miss his leadership around the packs. They miss his contested possession. O'Meara was okay, Swallow was okay, and Prestia okay.
Colajazzi, another injury in game. We'll get that from Nathan Brown shortly, but they're mounting up on them a bit. The break comes at a good time.
Yeah, exactly. Looks like he might have done a hammy, and he's been sensational. There's a goal there, McRae. A really, really important goal there in the last quarter. And this is where they just steamrolled the Suns. The Suns flat-footed.
He was good, Stringer. He played well.
Kicked a couple. He's one that they can look forward to. Redpath will have a look at him over the next few weeks. But a good win, a really good win. I like the Dogs.
This will be on the agenda, this incident involving Tom Murphy, who was back in the team yesterday.
Have a look at this.
What's your take on this?
Yeah, there he is there. He's just driven the knee in. It's unbelievable. Look at this. Just now, bang, into, I think it was Stringer there. And
didn't get much on it, though.
But he's still done it. There's no need to do it, Nicky.
Attempted kneeing. Attempted kneeing. He didn't put much into that.
I don't know about the force, but you're right. The votes, here they are here in a hard game again to find votes for, except for McRae, who was outstanding. Boyd, good. Will Minson in the ruck was great early. And Johannesson.
I'm not sure why they haven't been playing him earlier, Johannesson.
He
provides the run that they lack a bit.
Exactly. He was good,
Matthew. Does McRae have to have 50 to get 9?
Yeah, I would have thought so. 43 and 2 and you're getting 8.
No, he made a couple of mistakes. I'm with Brendan McCarthy.
What was his worst mistake?
Well, he just didn't chase there at one stage.
Because he had the ball.
He played the greatest game a 19-year-old's played in the history of the game.
Actually, can we change it to 9?
It's worth a 10.
I gave it to Paddy, and he's given him 8. It was a 9, Paddy.
Unthinkable. Now, Sean Higgins didn't play yesterday, despite the fact Griffin was a late withdrawal. He's a free agent at the end of the year. What's your take on this, Lordo?
I'd be willing to give him a chance if you're a top 4 or 5 club. Just maybe he needs a new environment. He put off his contract talks till the end of the year. Obviously, he's been, for an early draft choice, he's been a disappointment for the Western Bulldogs, but I think there's something there with him.
Is it possible that he's going and the coach knows it?
Well, he hasn't had a great year, though, so that's where it complicates things a little bit.
I thought his early form at the half-back was okay. He had a lot of injuries, and when he burst onto the scene years ago, I remember he tore Geelong up in a prelim final, I think, early. And then Geelong hit back and won the game, obviously. Through those prelims, I thought he was a great player, but he's just had a lot of injuries, and I think he'll stay.
Not many players put their contract off who aren't in the team.
Yeah, I think he'll go, Brownie.
Yep. Okay, time for a Chemist Warehouse injury report now. It's great to have Nathan Brown back.
First one's big jerker Jenkins, gets the ankle, just rolled underneath him there. They're nasty. He came off, but he came back on in the last quarter. He continued playing, so I think he'll be right. They would have jabbed him up. He'll be very, very sore this week, though. Lockie Hanson's the next one. Gets knocked out by big Tom Hickey there. He was still on his feet for a while, but then just slowly went down.
The old Statue of Liberty there.
The old statue just fell down. He'll be right. It's not a funny thing, concussion, but we shouldn't laugh. That is funny. The next one's Colin Chasney. Hamstring came off in the third quarter. He was immediately subbed out. He'll have scans, but hamstring, 2, 3, possibly even 4 weeks. You don't want to gamble with those sort of players. That's all for Chemist Warehouse. I was in there the other day. Had my daughter out, Helena, who's only 2 years of age, and forgot to take nappies, and my wife always tells me, make sure you take nappies, and sure enough, she'd already taken a dump in the nappy. Had to go in, and I was like running around mad. Had the 2 kids, but fortunately, Chemist Warehouse had some nappies. They allowed me to use the toilet out the back to clean it all up. Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Enjoying your lunch, everyone. House of Wellness is in the July edition in the Herald Sun today. Nathan Brown's first out of count of his experience. Right, plenty more to come, including the Sunday agenda right here on the Sunday Footy Show. For home timber and hardware, go where the tradies go. As much on and off the field for that footy club as anyone, and his recent efforts included in the board and also acting CEO. But what a wonderful player he was, Bill.
No, he's a star, and I'll tell you what, he never talks about his playing days or about himself, and you try and bring it up with him and have a bit of fun with him, but he was a sensational player, a bit boring at times. He just lead out, mark, and kick a goal. Like, give us something else, Piggy.
Where do you rate him, Lordo? He's one of the great full forwards.
Oh, well, it's hard for me, like being so young watching them, but I suppose you put them in the... Obviously, how would you...
I thought you were going to say being so good.
No, I was just being a little bit above him.
It didn't sound that way.
I suppose you compare him to Lockett and obviously Ablett.
Ablett, exactly.
So you tell me the 1, 2, 3.
I go Ablett, Lockett, Dunstall.
He's an angry man, though, the Chief. He came to my wedding a couple of years ago and threatened the pastor who married us. He told me because the pastor came over and Shane Crawford set it up and said he loves it when you go and take the mickey out of him. And so he went up, this pastor, and started talking to Jason Dunstall. And the Chief didn't take it that well. And he goes, listen here, mate, I know you're the pastor, but you'll end up in that pool in a minute.
I thought it was more Jason's day today.
No, well done, Chief. Fantastic. Absolutely amazing work.
Well done to Jason
What do you have
Dunstall.
pasture at your wedding for? Why not steak and chicken?
12-point win to the Hawks on Friday night. Gunston kick forward, Nicky Dell.
Yeah, very impressive game. A nice free-flowing game, and obviously a lot of goal kickers here. The first one was Gunston in the first quarter. 4. Bruce did a very good job when he kicked it, but they still counted it.
You don't think I'll let this one go, Lordo, do you? Our man Josh Jenkins just kicked one of his 5 there.
No, he's better than... I'll give it to you. He's better than...
Lunkhurst, the ruck coach down there, says Segler is the best hand-tap ruckman he's seen in a long time. Thinks he's better than the other 2 ruckmen down there, and that's a big so because Hale and McAvoy are great players, but just his handwork down to his rovers and midfielders is fantastic.
And it's only going to get better.
Yeah, Hale's number 3 now, isn't he? Righto, where do you rate Hawthorn? So who, at the minute, right now, you got Sydney on top?
Yeah, I would have Hawthorn in front of Freo.
Righto.
So...
A minute, second later, what happens? Why do we have to pay that price? Yeah, the rules, mate. I didn't write the book. I've just read it, all right?
What's your
write the book.
What's your take on that? Is it fair enough?
Yeah, it's a mistake.
Yeah.
And we all make mistakes. That's why there's rubbers on the end of pencils.
on that insightful note, Nicky Dell, your votes.
Brian can go with that.
Oh, after that one.
That's your best for the year, Bill.
I've given
B2's going with that one this morning.
8 votes to Paddy Dangerfield. I thought Gunston was fantastic, particularly his first quarter. He would have got 8 after the first quarter anyway. Segler is good a ruckman, as I've seen for a little while. And young Crouch, I think he had 30 or 40 touches. I thought he was fantastic through the midfield.
Let's have a look at the leaderboard and the Lou Richards medals. Things are starting to hot up. Pendlebury ahead of Ablett, Kennedy, Fife and Prentice. Pendlebury the leader though by 10, and Jack McRae might make a late move if he can get some decent votes from Bill at some point in the season. It's a 10-point lead. They're all fighting for this. It's an unbelievable award. The 3-litre turbo diesel Isuzu D-Max, built with the spirit of truck. You can depend on the D-Max to handle anything you throw at it. You can test drive it too at isuzute.com.au. The Rolling All-Australian team hotting up. Lordo's put his neck on the line each and every Sunday. Lordo, what changes, if any, have you made this week?
I've made 3 changes, Hutchie, this week, so it's getting harder and harder, but some have to go out. Rockcliffe didn't play on the weekend, but he's gone out. Presti's gone out, and also Travis Boak. All good players, but 3 come in. I've loved Jack Gunston's last 6 weeks. He comes in for Rockcliffe on the half-forward flank. Boomer Harvey's had a great, consistent year, and Brownie touched on Luke Parker. I think he finally deserves to come into that team.
What about Dale? What do you think of that side?
Yeah, my name's missing to start with there, so there's a few guys I could take out. We'll chat about that later. That looks pretty competitive there. Is that Swallow?
I know, it's the Gold Coast Swallow. It's one of those ones that I needed him in, but couldn't.
Has he ever been to full-back?
What's that? No,
You've
he's
got
in the back
Swallow,
line.
Gibbs and Goddard as your defenders. None of them have played back all year.
Come on, you know what? Name me some other backmen that deserve to make it. So you've filled it with midfield.
You've got midfielders everywhere. You've got them at full back, full forward.
Hooker.
Hashtag
Hooker's in the team already.
Okay.
Concentrate, Brownie. Hashtag Rolling All Oz is the hashtag. Rolling All Oz. Get involved. Let us know who you think should be the sweepers, the quarterbacks that Lordo's missing in his team of Rolling All Australians. The Sunday agenda, here's Damien Barrett.
Thank you, Hutchie. Despite 11 losses in a row, Alan Richardson, the coach of St Kilda, maintaining his faith in the future, backing the words that Peter Summers, his president, gave to the Footy Show earlier this year, that by 2018 the Saints would be challenging for high-end success.
As long as we're prepared to stick fat as a footy club and stay the course and continue to go the draft and keep bringing in quality players, then I've got no doubt that we can be in those sort of positions
by the end of the decade.
Absolutely.
So he was optimistic, wasn't he, Damo? And I want to ask Lordo, do you think Alan Richardson there was being realistic? And can they get there if they don't get into free agency?
Oh, well, I think he's right. He's got to go through the draft. Unless there's someone out of the box like a Fife, who we touched on, who's already been signed up, or one of those players that can change a club, I can understand why he'd go to the draft. But
2020
but if he says no, and we're in 2014, geez, some St Kilda fans would be disappointed that in 6 years' time you're not going to be in the mix. It's going to be a hard road, though, isn't it?
I think if he honestly believes it, and the way that he spoke, he seemed very sincere about it. That's what he believes. He believes in the process and what they've got in place. So good luck to him.
6 years is a long time too. Port Adelaide 18 months ago were a basket case. He was at that footy club, saw it firsthand. Look where Port Adelaide are now. So it's not without the realms of possibility.
Brian Taylor, as we discussed earlier, been censured by his network for comments made last night. He's apologised for them. He will be counselled and educated. And the match about to start at Etihad Stadium for the Richmond team. Foley will be the sub and Mitchell for Port Adelaide.
Go Tigers.
You give them a chance today, don't you?
I do. I reckon they're in pretty good form. They play here. Port Adelaide are just a little bit vulnerable at the moment. I think Port Adelaide have been in a heavy training phase over the last 5 or 6 weeks, and they'll come out of that. But their end of the season, I think they're priming up for. I just reckon the Tigers will pip them today.
Plenty more to come on the Sunday Footy Show. We'll get Nathan Brown up next. I want to go off and get ready for TAC Cup Future Stars. Guests today include Ben Brown, the big kangaroo juggernaut, and Nathan Jones from the Demons will be along as well. So he's a character, is he?
Yeah, Big Diggity Brown. He's very entertaining. I don't know about his haircut, but gee, they loved him in Tassie yesterday. It was disgusting. But,
was his family there?
Yeah, he's one of 6 boys.
One of 6
Yeah,
boys.
so he's the eldest.
And you seem a big fan of the footy down in Tassie as well.
I am, or he is?
You.
Yeah,
it's too cold.
It was freezing. I'll give it that. It was actually a really good day. There was 10,500 people there, sold out. But gee, it was cold. It was cold.
You didn't like it, did you?
So
loved it.
Stick around for that on TAC Cup Future Stars for our Adelaide audience. Don't forget Footy SA still to come. But very soon, Nathan Brown will be back to have a look at this afternoon's games with the rest of the crew. This is the Sunday Footy Show right here on the 9 Network.
Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show. This man was enormous on Anzac Day. Dane Swanee absolutely tore it up against the Bombers, and the Pies take on the Bombers Today at the MCG is going to be an amazing game between these two clubs. The Pies in the 8 at the moment. The Bombers looking to get back into the 8. With a win today, they will step into the 8. And Dane Swan, that man is awesome. Boys, what do we think about today? Because it certainly is a massive game, Lloydie. You wrote an article about it in the paper. The Bombers can go into the finals or the top 8 if they win. Where do you see it?
On that day, Brownie, Essendon kicked the first 6 goals. The Pies kicked the next 9. So they're pretty even, these two teams. The depth of Collingwood midfield, I think I'm just leaning towards Collingwood because no Goddard, no Joe Watson, puts a lot of pressure on Heppel and David Zaharakis.
Collingwood still can miss the finals, can't they?
Oh, if they lose today, the pressure is right on, and I think that it's a must-win game. If they win today, Dal, I think they're good enough to still make it.
Yeah, my early tip is Collingwood. I think the way that they've gone about their whole season, I think they'll get over the line. And with a couple of big outs for the Bombers at the moment, they'll get the points.
Yeah, they miss Goddard, no doubt about that. Fletcher comes in. It'll be interesting to see what they do with him. Maybe send him forward early, which he kicked an early goal there last time they played, didn't they, and got him going.
Yeah.
But Collingwood, Luke Ball comes in, Nick Maxwell and Jesse White. So three good ins.
And they need Maxwell. The defence in the last month, Brownie, has gone from 5th to 15th Collingwood. So they're now young defence. Langdon, Frost, Williams, all dropped off a little bit. So that's Essendon's chance to test them.
And Dale, you get tagged a lot. McCaffer, would you send him to Heppel or Zaharakis first up?
I think he has to start with Heppel. I think Heppel's ability to move through the midfield, bring the ball out of half-back is really critical for the Bombers. So I think if we can shut that down, that'd be a great start. And I'd have to play a bit of a lockdown half-backer on Zaharakis because he's had a fantastic 7 weeks.
Very good, Dale. From one smooth mover to another, and Matty Campbell from Sportsbet's got all the latest odds.
Thanks very much, Nathan. Well, 3 games today, 2 of which look attractive for punters. First up, well, even though Richmond have won 2 in a row, the punters aren't convinced just yet, with most of the money coming for Port Adelaide to win the game, and there's about an even dollar between the two in their head-to-head prices. It's a very similar story for the big game at the MCG this afternoon, although probably more money for Essendon than Richmond, but most of the money has come for Collingwood, and again, almost an even dollar between the two in the prices. Not so much the third game, the Twilight game coming from over there in Perth. It's all about Fremantle winning their 8th game in a row. And it's all about the line here. Can the Giants get within 69.5 points? And you can pick up $1.92. If you think the Richmond-Port game will be close or the Collingwood-Essendon game will be close, well, our round 17 special continues today. If your team loses by 20 points or less, we'll refund your head-to-head bet. That's up to a maximum of $100. All the terms and conditions are at the website sportsbet.com.au. And if you want to have a bet in the Fremantle game this afternoon and the prices put you off a little, we've got Ballantyne's bag. He's been in great form and we'll give you $3 if he kicks 4 goals for the afternoon. And remember, always gamble responsibly. Nathan.
Oh, he's as smooth as they come. Matty Campbell from Sportsbet.
Hey, Matty.
Del, today, Richmond versus Port Adelaide. For some reason, Richmond have been in good form, Port not so much. I reckon they can win today, the Tigers.
I agree with you. I'm actually going to tip Richmond in today's game. I don't know why. I just have a little bit of a feeling. Port's been fantastic all year, probably slowed up a little bit over the last month. I'm going to tip the Tigers to get up in an upset today, Bill.
No, I think Port Adelaide. They're a very, very good side. The losses they've had against good sides, and they've only just lost. So I'm going with Port.
And the other game is Freo versus GWS over there. How do you see that? Can you give them any chance?
No, Brown. I think one of the mysteries this year is what's happened to Jeremy Cameron. So they can't kick a score. Fremantle just suffocates you, and you think it's going to be a huge margin there at Patterson Stadium today.
Big show on the Thursday night footy show this week. Patrick Dangerfield, Brian Lake, special guest, Nick the Roo-Man Rewalt, one of your very good mates, and Sam Newman, bungee jumping up next. Hutchie's back, unfortunately, with TAC Cup Future Stars. Enjoy your Sunday afternoon. I hope you love your footy. I hope your team wins. It's been Bill, it's been Matty Lloyd, and thanks very much for Nicky Del Sano, the smooth mover.
On you, Nick.
Well done, mate.
Have a great Sunday afternoon.